All right. Aloha, my name is Pohaku Kahoʻohanohano. Right now I live in Kahakuloa village on some ancestral lands. Yeah.
And what is the cultural practice that you're sharing here at Hoʻomau today? And how did you come to learn it?
Okay. So what I'm doing today is demonstrating Hawaiian weaving. So with lauhala and coconut leaf. I got into it because when I was younger, I was interested in my genealogy. So I began to learn about what my family did in the past, and so I found out that both of my dad's grandmothers were lauhala weavers. And so I just kind of got interested, wanted to see what it was like. Started asking around if anybody knew the art. That was back in May '93, and at that point I was living in Honokohau Valley, and I asked people around there, and I found there was one auntie, June Ka'aihue, that lived up there in the valley, and she basically was my first kumu. She taught me how to clean and prepare the leaf, and then from there, the first thing I learned was baskets. I made a bracelet when I was younger, but never really got to know Lauhala at all yet until I was 19 when I first started weaving. So yeah.
So would you say that kind of it was that interest in your genealogy and then doing the research?
Yeah.
Would you say like your kūpuna kind of called you to?
Yeah, I feel, it was almost 50 years since my kupuna, that the last weaver anyway in our family, passed till I came along. So yeah, so I had to learn outside of the family, but I did learn from some people that knew my family back in the past. So I learned some things about my own family through them too. So
that's
yeah.
Awesome. Why do you think ulana is, like, or just weaving in general, is important to you, but also the greater lahu?
So for me, for sure, it's basically part of my culture. It was part of our family traditions, and pretty much all of Hawaiian families' traditions. At first, I didn't see how important it was until I started really getting to learn it, and learning from the kūpuna, who had this ancient knowledge, and slowly seeing kūpuna pass away with this knowledge kind of made me want to learn it more to preserve it. Also, for our lahui, we actually, to me, we wouldn't even be here without the lauhala, because our canoe sails, our lauhala canoe sails. So basically, I give credit for the lauhala for making us Hawaiian, bringing our people here almost 2,000 years ago. But like, if you think about it, like the Polynesians, the Micronesians, the Melanesians, we all discovered our lands, our islands, with lauhala canoe sails. Every single one of them. Even the Maori, they discovered their land with lauhala canoe sails. So to me, it's one of the hugest, important plants of our culture. I mean, yeah, we need it. We need it. Yeah.
I just learned recently too that the fruit would be used in times where the food
Famine.
was scarce.
Yes.
Famine,
Yeah.
So even the fruit was really
The fruit. Yep. Yep.
But that's a good point. So in today's day, we kind of see like lauhala weaving. It's more like bracelets or accessories. But
Yep.
What was it back in the day with our ancestors? How important was it for like baskets, fishing?
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit?
Yep. So yeah, they made basically everything furnished in your home, from lauhala floor mats. They made their mattresses, their beds. They made their pillows. They made fans, their baskets for holding, and anything from clothing, kapa, blankets, mea makamai. All your treasured items would be hidden in baskets or cared for in baskets. Lauhala also, when you die, you would you know, some people would roll you up in a lauhala mat to bury you, you know, or place you in a cave. They thatch their roofs with it. Geez, it's endless the use. And then you have your medicinal uses, and then all the different uses. You can make rope out of this plant. You can there's an aphrodisiac in this plant. There's vitamin B in the plant. There, you know, you can use every part of the plant basically. You know.
So you mentioned that there, you know, when you were younger, you didn't quite see how important it was, and then you gradually developed that. Is there like a certain memory or story that you can share that kind of solidified that passion for you, or made you realize how important this was to you and the law?
I would say, so, you know, when I first started sitting down with these kūpuna, I had 7 different kūpuna teachers, kumu. 4 from Maui, 3 from Hawaiian Island. They were all kūpuna wahine. So, you know, at first, like when I'm studying, you know, you go and you sit with them, you weave, you learn, you hear the stories. And then I think it was not till, I don't know, maybe 5 or something years after I started learning, I would tell my kumus, I would say, oh my gosh, I wish I was, you know, during that time you guys was learning back in the early 1900s to mid 1900s, learning how to weave and seeing the old people weave. And they said, no, you're here so that when we're gone, you can continue the work after us and teach in the past. So I even getting chicken skin already. But, you know, it's like they already seen the decline in their lifetime. And for me, just starting new, I didn't see the decline yet until my kumu started passing. And then most of them didn't even teach their own children or grandchildren. So it kind of dies out in families, and that's what happened to our family and almost most Hawaiian families. So now it's my kuleana basically to teach it. I mean, I have to because my kumus aren't here anymore. And if I just let the knowledge that they gifted me disappear, then I didn't do no justice to our culture, you know, or for our people, our lahui. This is ancient knowledge from our kūpuna that just cannot die any, you know, we can't let any more knowledge go. And the more I learn, the more I teach. It never ends, basically. And with weaving, you kind of move with the times. You know, when cell phones came out, you started making cell phone cover, you know, we just go with the times. So, like one kupuna, she said, it's good for you to weave, but always progress in your work. Never stay stagnant. Don't make the same mistakes. Always learn and keep perfecting your work, you know. Also, when you give something, you don't give the one you practice on, you give the good one, the best piece, you know. So you learn values, learn to be patient for sure. And there's so much in it, not just the weaving, you know. It's all the values that come with it, you know. Yeah.
So, how important is it, you know, if future generations were to watch this tomorrow or even 20 years from now, how important is it that they continue this, that they learn this, and they continue to perpetuate it, and then they also teach it?
So, my goal would be to have them, usually like when I go teach in classrooms or whatever, I'll tell the students, like I give them homework. I want you guys to go home, go ask your families, who was the last weaver in your family? Because most of them will say they don't know anybody right now until they go and ask their mom, their grandfather, whatever, ask somebody, who was the last weaver in our family? So just to get them like, oh wow, I did have a weaver in our family, and they come back, hey, my great grandma or whatever, you know, and then that already sparks something. They'll never lose that little knowledge that they just gained, and then, you know, then you want to know what did they make, you know, how did they make it, what plants did they use, you know, We went from a society of relying on these plants 100% to almost 0% relying on them anymore. But if something happens, you're gonna wanna still know how to make your thatch roof. You're gonna still wanna have to learn how to make your bedding, your floor mats. You're still gonna have to know the foods that are famine foods that keep you alive. Stuff like that. I mean, culturally, this is a plant that we had to have. There's no going around it. You have to have this plant to survive, basically, or to get anywhere too. Yeah, for the future of their own, to have it for your own kids or grandkids in the future is like priceless. Nowadays, it's like even my own kids are on their devices, But yeah, just to me, you gotta have to make them learn instead of having them sometimes choose for themselves. All my kumu, basically, they were made to learn. They had no choice. Nowadays, there's too many choices, and just gotta bring back that knowledge, the importance of that knowledge to the kids. And I think the more they see it, the more they'll understand it, Should have more hands-on stuff like that in schools, for sure. Not only brain work, but hand work, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
So you explained the importance of the hala plant itself and all the different ways we could use it. What is is there any protocol around harvesting, or how do you approach the hala
Yeah.
in your practice?
So when I used to go out with my kumus to gather, we always look at the tree first and make sure nobody else is gathering from it. Also, the first thing you want to do is clean the tree. You go in, like if you find a nice tree, get good leaves, but it hasn't been picked, nothing. It has a lot of dry leaves stuck inside all over the ground, so you clean your tree first. Then all the next leaves that fall are all fresh. You take care of your tree, the tree take care of you. A lot of times nowadays, trees are in private properties you might not know might be sacred property, so you always pule. You want to be protected for sure. Also, you want to protect the tree that you're trying to take from. So I was taught also, the tree you use, you never burn the leaves, and yeah, just respecting the tree. We never swear around it. We never use bathroom around it. Yeah.
Just treating it with reverence.
Yeah,
and respect.
basically, and then people, when I don't like to gather and clean at the tree, and some people might, but we always picked and took. But some people, they'll cut their trash and leave it all at the base and stuff like that of the tree. Sometimes we don't like to do that. We clean our mess, Just take care of your tree, and it will take care of you. Yeah. Just with the weaving itself, the values like laulima, everybody working together, all the hands in, hanalike, everybody do the same work, and then things get, done quicker. Everybody has a hand in it, and everybody benefits, Yeah, I would say those mainly the three values that I have for hala is the aloha, like love for my kumu who taught me this, love for the plant, love for the aina, laulima, just everyone working together. It's camaraderie, it's good fun, talk stories, we harass each other. And then hanalike, everybody, if you see somebody cleaning a leaf, you go over there and you do the same, you help, you know. Don't just let them clean by themselves. If you have nothing else to do, you go and you jump in, you know, hanalike. So those are mainly the three values that I really, you know, took to it. Also, my kūpuna always instilled in me, if you know how to weave lauhala, you'll never starve, you know. You can always go out, go grab the rubbish and make something and sell if you gotta, you know. There's always, or trade. I used to trade round trip tickets to the Big Island for a hat. That was a long time ago, when hats were 75 bucks each. But yeah, good fun. Yeah.
And that's the way, that kind of style of economy should be brought back to
That's
Hawaii,
how,
right?
yeah. You know,
That's cool.
I know the work that goes into what I make, and you know, you wanna honor the work. You don't wanna make like people are. You don't wanna be greedy with your work. Try and get the highest price and stuff. You know. Yeah. I don't know.
So you mentioned how historically and culturally we used to use lauhala, or what people would ulana, like sails, bedding, baskets, things like that.
Yeah.
Today, what type of designs and things do you like to create with lauhala?
So personally, I like to recreate old stuff, because a lot of the old weaving still boggles my mind. It's just like, wow, they came up with this kind of stuff, you know, and we're just trying to figure it out, and they already like was doing it hundreds of years or whatever. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know, kind of reminds me of like Makahanaka Ike, that's another one, you know, in doing you learn. I was bad at math before, but after starting to weave, it taught me math, because doing patterns, you gotta know your numbers, and you gotta know fractions, and, you know, decimals almost, you know. So, like, I'm still learning.
So you mentioned that there's this gap, right, where our ancestors in kūpuna, they were better back then than we are now, because of the amount of erasure and colonization that happened. But so it's almost like if you could close that gap and we could remember, then we could progress even further with the craft, rather than trying to remember.
So now, because like me, I've been learning. I've been doing Lauhala sales too now. So since 2017 basically, and so my first sale was definitely the learning sale, and then from there I made a couple, and each time I learned something new, like and then, you know, by making it, I go like, wow, okay, they must have done it like this back in the past, you know. So you gotta kind of figure it out, because no one's there to teach you. So with all the knowledge I've gotten from all my different kumu, kind of my style is all put into one, all of them into one. And with all that knowledge, I can almost look at anything and create it now, you know. Even when I go down South Pacific, like I'll see something, I go, oh wow, cool. I know how to make it already, kind of, you know. Like it's with that back knowledge that was shared to me that you can kind of figure out the old stuff, and you can create the new stuff with that knowledge. And it's all practice and experimentation a lot of times, creating new patterns. Without a lot of that background, basic foundational knowledge, I couldn't probably progress as much as I've gone nowadays, you know. Also, I started when I was 19, and I'm 51 now, so if I was to start now in this type of age, I don't think I would be able to get to where I am now, you know, to where I've gotten. It just sucked me in. Yeah.
That's
Crazy.
awesome. So you spoke a little bit about the importance of the kuleana, right?
Yeah.
To maintain this practice and for us to continue for generations so it doesn't ever get lost.
Yeah.
Is there any other message you would want to share to keeping future generations for not just about this like ulana lauhala, but for our cultural practices in general?
In general, I say find something you're totally interested in of your culture, whether it's feathers, could even be fishing. Go learn how to make fish net. You know, all the different stone stuff we made. You know, learn something, do something of your culture and just perfect it. Even just one little thing, even, you know. Just get into it. Even leis, learning your plants and how to make different types of leis. There's so much in our culture that is just so available and ready for us to learn. But yeah, how do we bring that jump into like culture? And I would think it would be a lot of help to have that hands-on classes in the schools, all of the schools, and just make sure they learn, you know, like they gotta learn something, you know, and not only at school, learn what your family did. I would say start with your genealogy, find out who did what in your past, where they were from, what they did. Because of my genealogy and finding out I had family that wove, I still do research to this day. So I started when I was about 15, starting to get into my genealogy. And it wasn't until like 19 when I started weaving. But from then till now, I found different documents of our family property out where I live now. When they were claiming the land in the Great Mahele, they were claiming the hala trees on the land also. And so we've been passed down that same lands. So the trees aren't there anymore because maybe the tidal wave down at the bay, Kahakuloa. But I have stories of the hala grove down there. I have stories of my great-grandmother picking lauhala up Honokohau. That was in the Hawaiian newspaper I found recently. My father passed away in 2020, and so I got an old picture of my dad, and in it he's standing under a large hala tree when he was like probably 4 or 5 years old, and he's under a huge hala tree right next to a baby hala tree. And then it was a studio picture of him in the background, get like Waikiki with the palm trees back in the 40s. Real classic picture. But like little things like that, I keep finding hala in my family, and it's only natural for me to feel like, wow, it was meant for me. It was totally chosen by my kūpuna for me to do this. And then my first daughter, when she was born, I named her Lauhala, you know. So yeah, it's still coming. There's still knowledge to be found out there, you know, and history. So yeah, I would say I would just encourage the kids to learn anything you can of your culture, especially your own family traditions, the way they did things, their styles. Each of my kumu, they had their own style, depending on where they're from, who they learned from, and they're all amazing. I mean, yeah, just keep the knowledge going, basically, you know. Yeah, easy.
Right on. Is there anything else you would like to share about your practice, or when people come up to your booth and they learn and they ask questions, what do you hope they walk away with?
A little bit of more knowledge of the plant itself, you know. Sometimes they're amazed that you can take just this leaf that falls on the ground and create hats or mats, or, you know, it's pretty amazing. And then a lot of times, like I'll have them just sit down and make something, and then it'll just like, wow, this is awesome. They want to make some more. It just, you know, it pulls them in really, and that's what I love to see. Them walking away with a smile, or even just, wow, a bracelet, first one they made, you know, all proud. And that's what I want to make sure people get, you know, be happy. I mean, you're not gonna be an expert the first time you make something, so don't ever be too critical of the first things you make. You know, there's always something you learn from first and then perfect it after that. But other than that, just love your culture and spread it.
That's good. Well, mahalo very
Mahalo,
much. That was
mahalo.
very